Hello, everybody. I would like to thank you, all of you, for your presence here. I would like to thank the event organizers and the Center Blockchain de Catalonia for this magnificent result, which connects government bodies with revolutionary technologies. I'm absolutely convinced that the results of our two-day conference will be an important reflection for our regulators all over the world, also for the government officials and authorities. 15 years after the publication of Bitcoin's white paper, today's open dialogue for crypto regulation legal aspects demonstrates how far we've come and how much more the blockchain ecosystem can achieve with the right and effective regulatory policies. Regulatory policy must be an ally for the new revolutionary technology like blockchain, give more incentives for innovation, entrepreneurship, and investment. According to Yahoo Finance, Bitcoin is the best performing asset of the decade, outperforming 10 times more the Nasdaq 100. This means that the regulatory concept and the framework has to be flexible, effective, and not to be punitive. In order to discuss all of the above and more, I would like to introduce you our skilled and talented speakers: Luisa Castro, head of the legal department of Kilby at Kilby, and Portuguese independent lawyer Joaquim Matinero, banking and finance and blockchain lawyer from Roca Junient, and Said Mohammad Al-Hebsi, advisor of United Arab Emirates government. Thank all of you. So let's get started. I have prepared some questions about the MiCA, which was the main concept of the last panel. But I would like to, because we had breaking news in this week, I would like to start with the SBF and FTT issues. So I would like to start with Luisa and Joaquim and ask them about the legal aspects, compliance aspects, and what that case means about our regulatory future.
First, it's generating a lot of insecurity in the environment that we really didn't need it right now. And I think this will give more power to the regulators to actually show people in a live example, like, see, this is what we want to regulate. This is why the whole ecosystem have to be more regulated, even though it's not what we want. We don't want the ecosystem to regulate it end to end. So I think we'll start to struggling a bit more to have arguments on why parts of this ecosystem have to be decentralized and a bit less regulated, while other parts have to actually be more regulated to avoid this kind of risks. So I think what we should try to start doing is to regulate the end of the process. So what happens when things go down? What happens when we have a problem? That's where we have to have a bit more tight regulation, while the process itself can be a bit more loose.
Well, Luis explained perfectly. I think that we have to create some middle ground areas. MiCA regulation will start establishing any kind of fraud or kind of liquidation procedures for these exchanges. I think it's great to have at least being regulated, in case in FTS we've been discussing before, they are regulated under Bahamian law, so we don't know the procedure, how that will go. But once we have pretty clear that's something that will have a massive impact, not only in the ecosystem, mostly on consumers, then we have to grant them. There are several procedures, at least to hold their coins in one way or another, and on the other way around, which is the maximum assurance. Once it's the maximum guaranteed, people will start to understand which kind of investments that. If not, we said to that, if you invest something that it's not regulated, there's no kind of protection, it's the same that you're going to the casino or you're playing with the jackpot machine. You have to understand it first. When everyone is winning in the markets, everything is fine. And everyone is becoming rich, but things are falling down. We have to find these middle green areas to find a mixed solution between technology and protection.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to go to Said. It is an honor for us, of course, to have you here. And as a policy advisor myself, I truly understand the importance of political will in the United Arab Emirates in order to build a blockchain and crypto hub. I think United Arab Emirates transforming the global blockchain ecosystem. So I would like to ask you some questions about the United Arab Emirates vision on blockchain strategy. And of course, are there some strategic set in place?
Thank you so much, and thank you for the organizers who have me in this event, and to meet great people like you and my colleague here in the stage. Regarding the UAE government, their vision, they start as 2017 with something called Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is AI, blockchain technologies, IoT, big data, and they are considering to study and to build the talent around it. In 2017, UAE announced about their AI and blockchain technologies strategic, which is built to create, enhance the government sufficiency of the application of the government. Second, things they build a new market, a new industrial market for the government. Third one, to be international leader in terms of AI and blockchain technologies. The following year, the UAE government appointed a minister of AI and blockchain. They create something called AI and Blockchain Council. They have objective. One of their objectives to build the talent, to build the awareness, to create and to adopt this technology among the government, and to start with the awareness and talent. I am part of the first batch who's graduated from Oxford University, specialized in AI and the fourth industrial revolution as a technologies. And we were like 96 students who's graduated from this first batch. And we are from different government department within UAE. Most of them now, they have this technology, they have this awareness. They now give it back to their government and to apply and to see the best opportunity for the blockchain technologies or AI. So always as a government, they follow a very clear strategy from the government since 2000. They start with e-government, then smart government, and now they call it the fourth industrial revolution government, which is to be international hub for this, special for blockchain and AI. Especially last year, Dubai announced that to be the international full powered by blockchain technologies.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to go to the banning of tornado cash in the US, which is a two-sided currency. I mean that from the libertarian view, we have some concerns about the banning of a software or a token. By the regulatory view, we have to underpin and highlight the aspects of anti-money laundering rules and compliance all over the world, because if the US government let the tornado gas usage to go massive, this will be a so wrong point of view in order to continue to improve the ecosystem. So I would like to ask Luisa and Joaquim about the legal aspects and what that means for the balance between innovation and regulatory compliance.
Ladies first.
So I think this is the point that the regulators are trying to get in the most at this moment is the KYC and AML processes, and is where most people are actually failing. They are trying to go around this legislation. This is very new, sort of, to the traditional markets, so it's also easier to turn it more flexible and adapt it a bit better for the crypto, especially for what to call the license or that enter the high regulated market. And this is the big point. What Joaquin was also telling before, we have to have a middle ground to be able to protect consumers. To protect consumers to some extent, we have to know who is ultimately benefiting from that. And that also gives us a series of unfolding to other areas of crypto that we started seeing starting with the Tornado Cash case, which is, for example, in the US, they started responsibilizing DAO token holders as ultimately liable for that. And all of that discussion started with Tornado Cash. So if we're not able to identify who is ultimately liable for that or responsible or holding that, how we're going to protect anyone if we don't know who to go after. So I think at some extent the KYC and AML processes are really beneficial in a customer point of view. But at another point, I also understand that it started regulating a lot of the market that we want to be decentralized. So I think we have to have different limits that we have to the traditional banking and financial system. But I also think it's important that somewhat this is controlled.
Well, I truly understand that people said, well, with code we can do everything. I truly understand that people that support Tornado Cash and the way they are works and that. But we have to understand that in the traditional world that most we are living, we have to identify where these cryptos are coming from. They are coming from this kind of crimes or money laundering or anything like that. You have to prevent that. So I'm not saying that banning Tornado Cash is the best option, but for our regulator that try to understand it and the thing that they understood in the past, it's financial statements, we have to grant them some kind of clarifications. KYC is needed. AML procedures are needed too. So if we could say, maybe in 4 years, if someone is using Tornado Cash and could not certify where these currencies are coming from, you have to pay an extra one. I'm not sure which is the best way to do that. That happened with internet too at the beginning, that people buy and sell without knowing who were on the other part. Now, for the consumers and also for the regulator, we have to make things easier. And we got technology that maybe are years beyond the regulator. We have to bring together, try to work together, find this solution, because if not, it's like banning, and not moving forward. We want that this technology, as it's happening in United Arab Emirates, it's going much further, but at least we have to have some key points, knowing that everyone has to follow, not saying rules, but at least major keys that everyone is correlated to that.
Okay, thank you very much. Luisa said this, DAOs play a crucial role in the decentralized ecosystem and the blockchain. So I would like to ask all of you, Said, of course, because in the United Arab Emirates, lots of DAOs operates here. I would like to ask you how we can regulate effectively the DAO ecosystem, and after that, who is responsible for the governance of DAO?
Yeah, maybe I can start with that. We have a very recent example what Dubai did this year. They announced about VARA. VARA, it is a virtual asset regulated authority. It is the first one in the region. They aims to, first of all, to experience the virtual asset market, to empower and to empower the investors and increase the awareness about the virtual asset itself, to create a regulation within the most prestigious companies like Binance and some companies now, they are doing something we call like a sandbox. They try regulated within their sandbox. Then they come up with a very clear regulated, because you cannot start vision something without you experience it. So they start with this experience. They start with as I told you, this is the authority called VARA, Virtual Asset Regulatory in Dubai. Now they are do it an example. Now our neighbor countries like Bahrain and Saudi, they are monitoring and observing what this virus can achieve within this year. They can replicate their experience.
Hakim?
Well, DAOs are here to stay. It's something that we cannot say that traditional legal structure does not like them because it has no personality as a company. Well, we have to find this connection. I don't know if maybe in common law it's easier because we know that with some jurisdictional centers things could change. It. In the codex law, most in the southern Europe, we have to make an effort to that. I think we have to integrate this kind of companies, but we have to decide who will be responsible for. The SEC in the States has decided that once the DAO is not fully compliant with certain regulation, with the corporate regulation, the ones that created the smart contract that will rule the DAO they will be responsible at the beginning, at the first steps. Maybe we can do that here. We don't need to have personal responsibility, but at least have an escrow account for the beginning of this test. It's perfect, the sandbox regime. Also, we have it several hubs here in Europe, but we have to understand with blockchain technology, DAO, it's a main mechanism that will work in the future, and mostly the new generation Z, that's coming from 2001, relies more in DAOs than in public administration or centralized system. So I'm not saying that in an overnight we have to change the whole system, but we have to becoming integrating this kind of new structure. We got it there, we got it in Switzerland too, we got it in Liechtenstein, some place in Wyoming, unless we don't like the law from Wyoming in some points. But find this solution will make this blockchain technology bigger, stronger, and we will find the most benefits that using a DAO and the liquidity point that gives that DAO to.
Luisa?
I mean, I agree with Joaquin and almost all of it.
With Wyoming too.
Yeah, especially Wyoming. I mean, but it was a great effort on the sense that they saw that that was not going to disappear, and they tried to do somewhat a law to embrace this new kind of corporate structure, let's say like that. But they failed in so many points because they tried to bring to the traditional corporate world something that is not there. So they are trying to regulate end-to-end something that is in its core decentralized. I mean, if it's not going to be decentralized, why even bother to create a DAO, create a foundation? It's what Joaquin said, go to Switzerland, go to regulated markets. You don't need to create a DAO. And right now, we are in a bit of this place that a lot of people don't need to create a DAOs, but they are doing for the hype. And we also have a lot of DAOs that are being created, but they are not in its core DAO anymore. So, and then the SEC came with this big decision saying, okay, so who is responsible? Because you cannot have something existing in the legal world that have no one being responsible for. So whoever created the smart contracts, and then for me, the big part of that decision was actually when they said, not just who created, all the token holders that at some point participate of the governance of the DAO will need to respond to it proportionally. So of course, whoever have more tokens, whoever have more influence in the blockchain or in the DAO will respond more than the others. And I think that's a good way to start bringing the DAO, like, okay, you can be as decentralized as you might want, but someone's going to be ultimately responsible for it, proportionally to your participation. And yeah, I think that's a good start, but I think we are still years far from a true DAO regulation or for a true exception.
It will take time. I make an example. The credit card was created in USA 1950. In Southern Europe, it didn't arrive to consumers until 1972. Internet was created at the end of 1970s, beginning of 1980s. Arrived massively in 1998 and 2000. So things take time. We have to change a lot of things, but that would say that would not work in several projects, but massively using a DAO, I think will take time.
I totally agree.
I want to ask you one question. You ask us about the FTX Binance problem. You're coming from Greece, and I think that you're most related with the ecosystem. Can you explain us how you have dealt with this FTX Binance experience?
Yeah, we have a strong, thank you for your question. We have a strong ecosystem from the Binance because it operates in Cyprus. Um, and a lot of the community, because I'm the founder and director, editorial director of one of the largest crypto portal news in Greece. Um, a lot of people and the majority of community send us DM and Twitter and ask them antitrust policies will apply to this acquisition. I started to wonder what would happen if a single exchange has an 8% market share in the decentralized system. So I think it's better for all of us, for all of the community, that Binance and CZ backs out for this acquisition. Um, so I would like to ask you something important and combine with the previous question about DAOs. There's an open dialogue about the regulatory clarity, which is really important. We have to have a significant goal in order to achieve effective regulation. So I would like to ask all of you, which is the most important reason in order to strictly regulate the ecosystem? I mean, it's the energy consumption, the need for a reduction of energy consumption, is the financing crime, is anti-money laundering or or other compliance concerns, is it the taxation? So we can start with Said.
See, from our experience, actually, we just recently looking for the banking system or in the financial system. What we are looking for it now, it is there is some banks now start to support this business. Like we have something called Emirates National Bank, start to adopt the crypto things and start to adopt it. But again, it is coming back. If it is always, this is our opinion also. Always the support should be come from the government. Always the support should come be from top to down, because to make expedite and to make acceleration to adopt any new technologies or any new economic to the government or to the area itself, it should start from the government, because they are sitting on the data, they are sitting in the regulatory, they are sitting in the, they can make everything happen within, they have their authorities in the banks also to can start to appreciate or start to implement any of these technologies through their systems.
Joaquin?
Well, for me, the first thing first is that the project has some meaning to that. And asking, oh, well, there are tokens. Well, will you invest in that project if you can do it with your own money? The answer is yes. Okay, we can think about it. If not, sometimes we got projects that are really revolutionary, but maybe it's too soon for them. On the other hand, asking about the main question that I'm always looking is, the first thing is it's a good team, because you can not have 4 people that are biggest techiest one. We have something that at least well balanced. The second one is having a project that fulfills at least with the legality. The third thing is, if you want to fulfill the regulatory stuff, you have to pay for that, but not paying for it, but you have to ask for regulation. And the fourth thing, and that is for Luisa and me, ask your lawyers first. It's lovely to have all the project, beauty fee, the website, tokens already issued. You got everything, and then you ask your lawyer, and your lawyer said, you can't do that. Or maybe you have to move a little bit, but then change completely your project. Ask your lawyer, not because we want to stop it, because sometimes we are called stoppers in the product. No, because sometimes you have to implement some kind of KYC processes or AML before you start selling tokens or just signing stuff that you found on Google, and that's a massive destruction.
Luisa?
I mean, for the internal regulation of companies, it's exactly what Joaquin said. But on the other side, if we go to the actual legislators that are actually putting together regulations, I think the first point is that they have to understand that they cannot compete with the market, which is happening right now. They want to start regulating trending topics, but regulators are not nearly as fast as the market. So what they're doing is they start a regulation for something that is trending at the moment. They don't go deeply. They don't go move forward because that lose sense market-wise. So they move to another regulation, and so you have a lot of little projects that don't go further, don't go in depth in those processes, instead of picking a main point. So that go back to the point of your question. What do you think you should be regulated first? You have to understand that the regulator, it's not something that's clear to them yet, that crypto is a whole world. It's the same as them saying, okay, I will create all the laws at the same time. You have areas of crypto that will need to be regulated by different parts of the regulator. You have finance, you have banking, you have civil, you have responsibility. So don't try to legislate all at the same. Go per area, go per point. See, if you think, okay, the regulator think KYC and AML is the most important point now, okay, let's go fully regulate this. Okay, now you're saying that we're starting to have customer responsibility that goes a bit more to civil law. Okay, let's put this more in depth, that create that. Even if that in the future become a crypto regulation and a full, it is in different sections of the market, and that's not fully understand yet. And then go back to a bit of the problem that Joaquin said. We don't have specialized bodies in the government being paid to do that. So how do you expect to regulate just on lawyers' contributions and on whatever free time they have? This is a big chunk of the market now. So once the regulators accept that and say, okay, now we're going to take this seriously, this is a whole body to take care of it, I think we start making a bit more improvements.
Yeah, we don't want to stop projects. We want that everyone will be happy. But at least if you want to fulfill, you have to fulfill with everything, not with the things that you want to, and the other ones is say, I'm not going to look at them. Because then it's going to explode, and it has happened to that.
Yeah, I asked this question because Cardano's founder proposed a software-related regulation. In my opinion is that this is a process-related regulation, and I think in order to have effective regulation for a new innovative ecosystem, we have to strictly regulate the goal of an operation or a business or an organization. So I think if we go to software-related solutions, we will destroy the innovative. I say this because the most talented people in the world from MIT, from Harvard, goes into the Solidity, goes into the blockchain development. So I have to. I'm pretty sure that we have to non-touch the software. We have only touched the goal of our proposals and our laws. So I would like to ask you about what we've learned from the Ripple and Tezos case. Tezos case was back in 2016, and 6 years later, I think we don't have a clear image about what the future will be, about the courts and what the jurisdiction and the court cases taught us.
I mean, we learned a lot from those, mainly what not to do. I think that was the big lesson for us. Like first, those projects didn't have a legal team, and the part of the legal team that they had clearly was not listened, because and that happens more often than we want. it's not nice to have to pump the brakes on sometimes amazing projects. We see amazing projects every day, and it's not fun to say you cannot do that. But cases like that prove that someone have to raise red flags. There are laws in place, even that if we don't want to recognize it, like securities law, and there is securities law in most of the countries in the world. You have to follow it. Otherwise, there will be consequences. And those were first cases that we saw consequences coming to courts, consequences actually affecting people. And we went from a space that no one regulates us. We're free to do whatever we want to, hey, there are laws that regulate similar things in other areas. They have to respect it. You have to respect it. This is not everyone's land. So yeah, I would say that those were the two big ones. Like, it's not free land, whoever arrives first, do whatever they want. You're not free of sanctions, so you got to respect what's already in place.
I think that everything has been said. You cannot do whatever you want to. Technology is pretty fine, but you start at least crossing or at least coming closer to a line that's financial regulation. The regulator will be there waiting for you. That's what happened with Ripple. Ripple saying, no, it's a utility. Finally, they decided that it's a security token, and they are still arguing on that. So if you want to play the big leagues, be 100% sure that you got the right answer. At least your lawyer has said to you that it's fine. But if you said, no matter, I'm just playing with the banks, I'm having great agreements, I'm getting bigger capitalization, nothing will happen to it until it happens. The same is happening now with Ethereum 2.0. Ethereum 2.0, the American regulator has stated in one case that they truly understand that most nodes are based in the US. More than 53% of Ethereum 2.0 nodes are based in the US in different exchanges. So they truly understand that Ethereum could be ruled by US securities law. So it's true. If that is true and you can certify that, Ethereum will be a problem on that because must fulfill, and it could be considered as a security the way it's providing. So please be aware what you do, ask for it, and for sure, the project will be out there and the regulation will adapt to this new project, but you cannot play it and say, oh, the code allows me that to do, code is low, and foresee I'm free or whatever. Yeah, it's perfectly, you can do it. You could create the best program of your life, but it will be useless. Nobody will use that.
So again, I'm always try to find the synergies between our talks and replicate what our experience as a government and what we implemented recently in our government that adopts like these cases. One of the UAE initiative called the UAE Acceleration Program. So this program always announce about challenging for the government. Each government, each entity announce 5 challenging. And we called like international RFP. So as individual or as a companies who have the talent, who have the solution, who's working in programming and he know I have some solution regard to that. So we are taking care of him. We bring him, we provide him the tickets, the accommodation, and we put him in an incubator within 100 days. So within 100 days, we put him in this incubator with the regulation, with the department who's exactly he want to implement this project with. In the end of this program, if he succeeds and he's adopt his project within our regulated and within our requirement, we sign a contract with him with zero equity from the government itself. So this is one of the government initiatives. The other initiative also, they called it Coding for UAE. Coding for UAE, they always announce what 1 million coding for the UAE, like a hackathon. And they announce who's the challenging on it, and they also award like give a grant for the as a person even or as a company also.
Thank you very much. I had in mind to ask you, Said, about the initiatives the United Arab Emirates takes, because your paradigm and pattern is also a model for EU entrepreneurs and investors. I think I have the responsibility to ask our lawyers here about MiCA improvements and some concerns.
I think the previous table has been talking about it.
Yeah, but
We can discuss about Netflix series, TV series, or something more. No, it's joking.
I think we can always I has this motto in my mind. Always we can improve our regulation and our framework. So I would like to ask you a quick comment on MiCA improvements and concerns.
Honestly, I just believe it when I see it. We passed through so many changes, and every time it goes out, it's like, oh, this is the final version. And then 2 weeks after, it's like, oh no, we are saying that there are some changes that need to be done. So at this stage, I'm really like, okay, I just believe it when it's actually published and out. But other than that, I think MiCA, it's a good beginning. It's starting to cover the basis on concepts. So it's starting to bring to the legal world concepts like what is what. So then we can categorize and then explore it further on more specific regulations. I don't think MiCA's purpose, and this is my personal opinion, is to go further on regulation on each of the points that they're bringing. I think it's just to put ground rules on the market and then develop from there.
Sure, we got the first big paper on that. Ms. Lagarde just informed that they will start working in MiCA 2.0 in the following months when MiCA will be published. So I think it's not perfect. We know that regulators are working on that 26 months before, so NFTs are not 100% covered, just the fractional, the ones that consider fungible. So please understand that it's something, it's good, it's a first step. We're gonna develop that. As an example, in the funds European regulations, we are in UCIT 6. We got 5 regulations before that. So with MiCA, we'll have the same. It's a first step. It's okay. For sure, we're gonna be updated. Will be developed. We're gonna find new areas. We're gonna start looking about DeFi, NFTs, loot boxes, and moreover. But it's a great stone, it's a great regulation, will bring at least the European Union certain aspects that for sure in the States we'll find out something similar. And once we can create this crypto, at least for the kind of issuing of utility tokens, stable coins, privately stable coins, I'm sure there will be the security tokens legislation in 12 to 24 months since MiCA, we're gonna start having this law, this basis, and from this basis we can start working and constructing something much bigger and with much perspective.
We have 1 minute left, so I would like to ask you.
We would like to ask you your opinion about MiCA.
Since I've been in ecosystem from 2016, 2015, something like that, I think I'm really familiar with libertarian view, crypto anarchy, Adam Back, Nick Szabo, etc. So I can understand the concerns of the mature blockchain ecosystem, but as a policy advisor and as a person that the practical things, the relations between the two transacting bodies is that I focus on. I think the MiCA is our model in order to improve all over the world the adoption of new projects and cryptocurrencies. So I'm really proud of MiCA, and I think if we invest in research and hug all the people in the ecosystem, I think we can make a perfect regulatory policy. I would like to thank you, all of you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all of the speakers here. It's an honor for us, and glad to see you in the next Democracy for All Blockchain for Governance conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.